What's up, guys? Welcome back to the second lecture of Master Python Programming by Building 10 Projects. This is the most important lecture of this whole course. So in this lecture, actually, I'm going to tell you about the basics of Python, or I am going to give you the introduction of Python. So you have to be very attentive right now. So what is Python basically? And who built this language, and who is the creator, and many other topics we will discover in this lecture. So Python. It is created in 1991 by Guido van Rossum, and right now he's working at Google. And he named for Monty Python because there was a program or a show called as Monty Python, and he was just watching that program, and at that time he was also writing the script of Python language. So he was in search of a very easy and catchy name for his script, and this Python name actually came to his mind, and he just selected this name for his script. So Python is basically useful as a scripting language. So what is a script? Basically a small program that meant for a one-time use, right? So I'll tell you that what is a script, and I'll code in front of you. So a script is basically something that has a small or a medium-sized project. So right now Python is being used by Google, Yahoo, and YouTube is also using Python, and many Linux distributions are also using Python, and the games and apps are obviously using Python. So Python is basically a very interesting and very easy language to understand and learn and script. And people are actually making their own script in Python, and they are actually helping the people by their scripts. So now let's move on. Installing Python. In next lecture, I'll tell you that how we can install Python in our PC. So right now we just have our reading. Like on Windows, we can download from this link, http www.python.org. Then we will install Python and then we will run the IDLE from the start menu. So Python is already installed in Mac, so there's no need to install Python manually in Mac. And open the terminal and run Python or run IDLE from the finders. In Linux, so chances are usually already have Python installed. So to check, run Python from the terminal. If it is not installed, then install from your distribution package system. So in Windows, we have to install it manually. In Mac, we have already installed Python, and in Linux, there sometime it is installed and sometime it's not. So now let's move on. So programming basics. What is meant by code or source code? So the sequence of instructions written in the code editor are called as the code or the source code. Okay, so what is syntax? The set of legal structures and commands that can be used in particular programming language. So every programming language has its own syntax and its own legal structures and commands that developer use to develop different application by using different languages. So they have to keep in mind the syntax of every particular language. So now let's move on and see what is output. So the message is printed to the user by a program. As you can see here, hello world, so it is the output, and these are messages which are printed to the user by program. So we write a program where we type some commands to print hello world, and this is the command prompt or the shell, and here we got our output. So now what is console? So the text box onto which output is printed. So let me show you. These are the two examples of console. Command prompt is also called as a console, and this is the Python shell, and it is also called as console. So this is the code editor, as you can see here. Okay, some source code editors pop up the console as an external window, and other contain their own console windows. So if you are a Python user, and if you remember, so there is a console option at the bottom of the code editor. There is an option which is called as console, so we can open the console by clicking on that option. And like CMD is also a console, it's a separate console, and Python has its own console which is called as Python shell. So we can just type here Python shell. So now let's move on, and now we are going to study the most important thing in any programming language, which is compiling and interpreting. So what is the concept of compilation and interpretation? So many languages require you to compile your program into the form that the machine understands. So compilation basically means the translation. So if I give the command like print hello world, so computer does not understand what is meant by hello world. So if I type here hello world, and this is example of Java, how program execute in Java programming language. So we have given here the source code, and this is the source file, so hello.java. And in here we have a source code, right? So it will first compile into the bytecode. So bytecode means that our source code will be converted into 0110 form, right? Translate, so computer first translate the source code into its own language, which a computer can easily understand, and which is a bytecode, and after that it will execute the output. So but in case of Python, so Python instead directly interpret into machine instructions. It just interpret the program and simply give us the output. So it is a very quick language. Let me take you to the Python shell, and I'm gonna tell you that how we can use this Python shell. Okay guys, this is the start menu, and just click over here and type here Python shell, right? So this option will be appear over here. So just click on this and run as administrator, right? So let me show you, like if I'm typing here print and then smart programmer, right? So we are getting the immediate result, which is smart programmer. Let's do another example. Let's do an arithmetic expression like 1 plus 4 is equals to 5. So you can type a single line of code in Python shell and get the immediate result. Our first Python program. So Python does not have a main method like Java. So if you remember, if you are a Java developer, if you have studied Java before learning Python, you might have experience of, writing the Java. So first of all, we have to define a class named as main. If you are a Java user, if you remember. But in case of Python, there's nothing to do with classes. It's not necessary to use class in every program. If you are using, that's your own personal choice, but it's not necessary. Python statement do not end with semicolon. So as you can see here, we are not including any main class. We are also not including any semicolon or any other syntax. It's very simple and it's very easy to use and learn. So what is a print statement? So you can print a text by using the print command, like you can enclose your text in the double quote or a single quote, and the text will be printed on the console. And you can also use a empty command like print and nothing in between the parentheses, so a blank line will be appear. What are comments? So syntax, this is the syntax. Comment text one line. So this is the syntax. We use hashtag to comment something. Comment means something you want to tell in the program, but you don't want to print that line in your program. So these are called as some extra information, like Susie, student, CSE 142, fall 2097. So this is the information of the student, but the student also don't want to print this thing in his or her program. So that's why she has put a comment. And so now, white spaces, significance, and what we actually call as indentations. So Python use indentations to indicate blocks instead of curly braces, right? So in Java, all the time we use curly braces when we are defining any function or any loop. So we have to enclose everything in the curly braces in case of Java. But in case of Python, we use indentation to indicate the block, like this is the block of code and all the lines of code come under this particular function. So in Java, indentation is optional. In Python, you must indent. So this is it for now. So see you in the next lecture.